So this is an interview that we are conducting regarding our GP assignment for our O-levels. Topic is peace and conflict. So I would like to start off with an introductory question. So, sir, can you please, your name is, can I get your name, sir?
Yeah, you can, okay, sorry, you won't be seeing it in my, you will see my company details there. So, my name is Jayampathi Kalutuarachchi, and to give you all a little bit of a brief introduction, I have been I was a part of the military since 1986. And I have been there, and I was a victim of the separation conflicts. And then I retired. I went on a premature retirement due to the injuries that I received in the field. So that's the brief. And thereafter, I have been working in the corporate. I have been working in the government institutions, international, and then the corporate. And since 2010, of course, I was out of the country. And fairly, I should say that I won't be able to contribute very positively on the sides of that you guys are looking at, because I was out of the country. So most of the things what is happening inside the country, I won't be able to, but I have my contacts that I can build in and get you all the exact what you are looking at to get you a project across.
Sure. All right, sir. So I have a follow-up question. So how did your military service shape your perspectives or opinions on conflict, peace building, and post-war reconciliation in Sri Lanka?
Well, let's make it into pieces. There's a small saying to say that if you want to eat an elephant, eat piece by piece. Right? So shaping a person with the military experience is a one concept, where that becomes a larger perspective. The person will be given a larger perspective or a larger view to make sure that he sees the whole picture. Right? So keeping that aside for the moment, let's take a conflict and peace building and reconciliation. So that is the core. That is the core. So in that context, if we look at after the post-war situation, looking at how the peace building takes place, what is the peace? How are we going to make the peace building is a matter of fact that what contribution the military does. Okay, soon after the war, it's been soon after, I'm just taking the soon after the war, every military person was basically an enemy of everybody in the north and east, right? But it is so unfortunate that the military people were the people to reconstruct and rebuild the whole area, because nobody is moving in. So in that way, shaping a person in the military way to rebuild, reconstruct, which was destroyed during the war, is the discipline. So the core of a peer, everybody across the board, every military, how they were contributing towards rebuilding the areas, and the people who were treating you as enemy, and people you were treating you and looking at you as an enemy, but to help them to regain their economy and stand on their feet, to providing their infrastructure purely based on the military. Did I answer your question?
I believe, sir, you did. So basically, sir, in a summarized point of view, saying it takes a whole another kind of discipline for the man you fought against with to again help him to stand up, basically.
Exactly. The reconstruction and rebuilding of your own enemy was a sort of a total difference. The set of disciplines and the strictly adhere to it is what it is.
So, sir, after leaving the military, and the country followed the conflict. Can you just share a bit about your transition to the civilian life and how the experiences during the war influence your lifestyle or life afterwards?
To be honest, up to now, I was somebody who really fought on this subject for so many decades, and up to now, nothing is materialized, nothing is there proper. Reintegration of the military into the community is not there. In the Sri Lankan context, it is not there. So that is why we do have a lot of issues like ex-military people, Army, Navy, Air Force, it doesn't matter what the color the uniform is, are involved with the gang fighting, gangster activities and the underworld activities in Sri Lanka. That is because we don't have a reintegration process in place for the military to come into the public
Civilian life
or the community. But at the end of the day, you are a part of the community. You are a part of the community, and your village or the community respects you. So it doesn't mean that you have the whole power over it. So coming back to your question, there was no integration at all. So there was no guidance, or there is no career guidance for me to get integrated. It is by myself. So what happens was, I started my further studies while after the injuries. I started looking at the world, how it is moving, and based on that, I pitch my path. But 99.9% will not do that. They will try to carry on with the same exact military experience forward. So there are two differences which are in conflict. Carry on with your military experience to manage the community is a different way as a civilian member of the community. The second component is carry on the military experience and the gain knowledge to manage the community in a military way is a different path. So this is the conflicting component. If you are getting into the integration into the community, you need to be a civilian to manage it, but with the knowledge and the experience of your military management into it.
Right. So there is so point number one is the Sri Lankan government still does not have a program to rehabilitate its ex-military or injured military back into the civilian society. Also,
I'll add a little more.
Yeah, sure. Sir.
I'll add a word proper.
Yeah.
There is no proper program or the way of integrating them. There are certain things which are not proper or structured.
Okay, sir. So to rephrase my point, so you're saying, sir, that there are programs which are there to rehabilitate rehabilitate ex-military, but they are not either structured or properly guided, basically.
That's correct.
Also, a military person in the civil society has either two functions. He can either continue in the militarized manner in which he was, or he could try to integrate into the civilian life.
That's correct. Integrate into the civilian life as a civilian and contribute knowledge to the positive side of the society.
Right. Also, okay, so I have another question, sir. So if it's possible, can you discuss if you know any government-led initiatives that you were aware of aimed at promoting the peace between the Elam wars,
Yeah, so let's. There were few. One is because when the war is over, there were two elements were left. One is rehabilitation and reconstruction of the overall area and the community. That is one element. The second element is rehabilitation and the reintegration of the ex-combatants. So those are the two major elements left with. Soon after a war, anywhere in the world, those are the two major elements which you are going to be left with. Let's take the first element. Reintegration and reconstruction and rehabilitation of the area and the community. There was a ministry, there was a rehabilitation, there was a minister who is doing it, and there was a ministry who is looking after it. There were huge amount of funds funded through the NGOs, non-government organizations, as well as there's certain amount of funds but transferred from the central treasury for the same subject. But before we are going into the reconstruction and the development of those areas, have we ever, or the government ever, checked with them what the root cause was? If you want to remove the weeds from your farm, you need to remove the roots of the weed. It's cutting the plant on the top is not going to stop it. What we did was, what the government fund and everything did was, we just went on our perspective. We thought they want this, but they never asked for it. What they wanted was to have their own life. Initially, for so many years, there was a lot of conflicts. I think up to about 2015, the people were displaced. We don't like to call us as refugees. Nobody enjoys it. We want our normal life back. Give their land, give their farms, let them farm. Clean the area, clean your landmines, take the landmines off. There was certain amount of initiatives came through the military from the funding of especially from the funding from the Asian development as well as from the US aid to demining, because everywhere it was mined. So people cannot go into their paddy field. So if I am a farmer, if I can't go into the paddy field and do my farming, does it make any sense to have a carpeted road in front of my house? It doesn't. End of the day, the road doesn't give me food. My kids are starving at home. I want to go to the field. I need a land to do that. So that's the point. We had enough initiatives, but they were not focused. So that was the problem. So we had a lot of initiative. We had pumped in huge amount of money, but those never focused. What we wanted is, if we wanted to do the proper rehabilitation and reconstruction on those areas, it has to be economical rehabilitation and reconstruction of that community, so that they are going to go back to the unrest what they had before. Second component is the rehabilitation and reintegration of the ex-combatants. Right? So how do we get the ex-combatant reintegrated into the community? That was majorly handled by the military, and they did a good job on that one, to be honest. What they did was train them to how to do their self-employment processes, like how to make chairs, how to do the carpentry, how to do machinery, how to become the self-employed entrepreneur. Those were given to them. Knowledge was given, but unfortunately, thereafter, follow-ups were not in place. They can do the training, they can take them to a camp, train them, give them the knowledge and give them the skill set, give them the tools. And after that, where is the market? Creating the market, like one good example. Let's think about me. I'm an ex LTD member, ex-LTD member, and I was caught, and I'm been reintegrated, and I'm given the sort of a training to make food. So I became a number one cook. So I'm going to go back to my village, start up a food stall. If my village cannot afford it, if my village people don't buy it, what will happen? I am back in the same unrest.
Back
right?
to same square. Again, back to the beginning.
Exactly. Back to the square zero. Right? So that's the problem. So reintegration of the ex-military, ex-LTT were in place in a very good manner. But the follow-ups were not there. So that is also another loophole that we left on. I know the answer is too long, but...
No, I got it, sir. So, all right. So, first point is, after the war, there were two needs that need to be. The rehab of affected civilians or communities, as well as the rehabilitation and reintegration of ex-combatants, both in the southern and the northern. So, in the civilian side, the government had many initiatives and programs. However, they were not focused on the proper needs of the civilians.
Proper needs of the specific area, because the
specific
need of Jaffna is not the need of Batticlo.
Exactly. So different areas have their different perspectives, geographical job markets basically as well. Geographical demands were not met. And they did not teach the locals or the communities to how to be self-sufficient after the war.
Exactly. How after their funding or after their whatever the assistance, how do they become self-sufficient was not given to them. Further,
then in the point 2, the rehabilitation of ex-combatants, they were given the necessary skill sets as well as the knowledge. However, there was no job market or, let's say, demand for such skill sets. So there may be outdated skill sets.
No, the market, those skills were perfect. But the market to sell the skills were not created.
So basically,
like, let's think about handloom people. The people are making the clothes, right? Handloom. If there is no demand coming to the handloom which is produced in Batticlo or which is produced in the Karayanagar, will there be, what are they going to do with those clothes? That market, selling market was not created. Sales channel is not created. That's the problem.
So there was no demand for the goods they had.
They were producing it, but there is no demand created. That has to be created from Colombo, Kandy, Kurunegala.
Yes, they should import. From the southern to the northern should import. Right.
Within the country, exporting function wasn't there.
So internal trade was not focused properly. Right, internal trade. Okay. So I think this can be a follow-up question. So, do you think the military engaged with local communities during peace building efforts, especially considering the complexities between the two cultures or the cultural differences?
Yeah, with all that in mind, we are going back to the original question. Having the strict discipline, military did involve with the local communities extremely well. They did involved with the local communities extremely well. They were going into the covils in dress nicely with according to that concept. Like, when you're going into the covil, you don't wear the top, right? So they were doing that. So they were basically integrating with the local communities extremely well because they were binded with the discipline line.
So follow the order properly, basically.
Exactly.
Like that, something like that.
Perfect. You are spot on.
Right. So from Sir's perspective, do you think civil society, so like normal communities, contribute to the peace efforts by the military or the government? Like, did they collaborate effectively, or were they very reluctant?
I have a clarification question on this. When you say the civil society,
yes,
which civil society or the community you meant by that question?
I mean,
is it
like
the people affected, or is it the people were on the south?
Mostly, sir, we are focusing on the north. So I believe it is with the communities that were affected, because the military would collaborate effectively with them.
Yeah, for the people who were affected in northern or the east were the core of your question.
Yes.
Yes, they did. They did up to a point. It is not 100% trust. It was a 50-50. Because they wanted to get back to their life. They never wanted the war. War is purely on a different the political game. So it was created by some set of groups for their own generating
personal
something.
Gain.
Yeah, personal gains. And they used the unrest for their own gain. The people knew that, but they were afraid of it. So they wanted to go back to their normal life. They wanted the better education for their kids. They wanted the farms and the other skills to come out, and they wanted a peaceful life. So they wanted it, but there was a trust factor. That is why I say it was an integration of 50-50. I trust you to a 50%, and I don't trust you 50%. Because I'm not sure what you will do. That was their situation.
Okay, so basically, sir, they trusted them up to a point. Basically, they trusted them as well as they did not trust them, because they just wanted to get back to their ordinary lifestyle, basically, before the war.
Exactly. Whether the hook or crook, I want my life back. I want my kids to be safe. I don't want my kids to be killed by somebody. I don't want my kids to be a slave of somebody. Because of that, I'll work with you. That
like
is
that.
The concept.
So you, sir, mentioned unrest between the civilians before the war, right? Can you further clarify on that unrest before the war?
Well, previously, if I go back to before 1983, the people were being mistreated. They were basically pressurized, and they were kicked out. They were not treated as human. So I'm talking to you starting in after 1950s, coming up to 1983. During that time, most of the time what happens was the Indian people used to come by the fishing boats, and then they used to swim to Jaffna's shore and do work in Jaffna illegally.
Illegal immigrants.
Yeah. So they just coming from India to do illegally work as laborers in Jaffna. So they can send money back to India, and their families are safe there. So that situation, this I'm talking of about 1960s and 70s. So during that time, the military had especially those days, the army wasn't much involved, but the navy and the police department were involved with the duty called TAFI.
Sorry, sir, TAFI.
TAFI, TAFFIE.
IE, okay, TAFI.
Yeah, TAFI duties. So what they do is they just go and arrest these illegal migrants when they are coming down. Because they will come down to a point with the fishing boats and they will jump into the sea and start swimming. So during that time, what we did was we really ill-treated the fishermen. Because they are the people who are harboring these people when they are coming in. They also speak the same language. They speak Tamil mostly.
Right. Southern India, Tamil Nadu area.
Yeah. So whenever they comes in, they were harboring and they were given the opportunity to work in the farms, and they were the laborers in the paddy fields and so on. They will get food and little bit of money in Sri Lankan rupees, and then that money they send it back to India through the fishing boats. So the Sri Lankan fishing person take that money in an envelope, go into the mid of the sea, then they meet the Indian fishermen and they hand it over to them, and the Indian fishermen go and post it. It's kind of a smuggling. But what happened was, so during that time, whenever the military get involved with these TAFI duties, they harass all of these farmers who are harboring these people, all of the fishermen who are supporting them. That created an unrest. The kids have seen the fathers are being tortured. Kids have seen the fathers are being arrested. And the kids have seen his father's harvest being taken. So then they start, from the little age, they started basically, I really don't want to see this. So what is the easiest? I'm going to kill them. So that's the unrest that we created against us to start a war.
Okay, sir. So basically, the situation between the Indians and the northern Sri Lankans caused them to feel hostile towards the Lankan Triforces, basically. So
yeah, so it's a one part of it, single part of it, right? It's not the reason. Other than that, the too much of humiliation, too much of harassment, and even a person who is coming from Jaffna to Colombo is being ill-treated. Those humiliations created the unrest in Jaffna as well as in Batikalo.
So do you think, sir, the what's it called, the Tamils had that class system? Do you think that further escalated that?
It does, but what happened? Yeah, it did contributed a lot, because even if you go into the details of it, even nowadays, Nallur Kovil has two different gates. Highest caste can come from the front gate, whereas the lowest caste will be coming from the side gate. And if you are in the higher caste and your well will not serve the water for the lower caste people. So actually the war led by the people who were lower caste.
They felt discriminated against, basically.
They were, that was the major issue, and that was one of the things that they wanted all the higher caste people to work under them as soldiers. So that is also contributed to a lot. But the major component was the unrest among the youths, where that give the opportunity for the people to get them into a pool against the government.
They're able to
They manipulate
them. So like Colonel Karuna and Prabhakaran, like that, they manipulated.
All of them. Karuna is somewhat a different path. But when it comes to Prabhakaran and those characters, they were basically manipulated the unrest against the government and make those youths to work under them.
Right. So do you think, sir, from a vantage point outside the country, do you think the country has further developed since these conflicts, or do you think it may be worsened, or we may be leading into a path?
Come back again.
From so is living abroad. So from your vantage point outside the country, do you think the country will face such situations again, or are we being developed and coming together better than before?
We are not in that path. Like, if we are developing together and if we are heading towards a single goal, according to any other country which was coming back after the ashes, we are not there. Because it is so unfortunate, we are extremists. I don't know which religion are you from, but I am a Buddhist. I say I am a Buddhist because I was born to a parents of Buddhist.
Same here, sir.
Okay, so we were born to a Buddhist mother and father. We were thrown into a category called Buddhist. It will be the same. If you were born into a mother and father of Islamic, you will thrown into the Islamic category. There is no freedom of religion for any kid in the world. Though we talk about it, except certain countries like here in US and things, they don't force. That is your
freedom of choice.
Yeah, freedom of choice. That is your choice, right? So for us, we didn't have it. So in that way, we are following. That is why I'm telling that we are extremists. When we are following it in, to answer your question, we shouldn't be having any issues. If we are on the correct path, we shouldn't be having any issues with Islamic religion. We shouldn't be having any issues with the Hindus. And we should not be trying to mandate it that we are a Buddhist country.
There should be equality amongst all.
Exactly. Because according to our the constitution, we are supposed to have freedom of religion to everybody. So they have the equal rights. So we cannot say that we are a Buddhist country. We are Sri Lanka. Right? The classic thing is like whenever we go out of the country, most of the I have been working in the Middle East for so many years and in other Europe as well as a little bit of in Europe and as well as here. So we have a very good classic thing to learn from India. That is our neighbor. Indians, when they go out, they never say that I am from Kerala or I am from Maharashtra or I am from Delhi. What they say is, I'm an Indian. Second part of it, whenever Sri Lankan goes outside, you know what they say?
No.
One says, I'm a Sinhala. Other one says, I'm Tamil. And the third one says, I'm Muslim. or Islamic. They're so proud to say that. But nobody is worried or nobody is bothered to say that I'm a Sri Lankan. So that is what I'm going to tell you. We are not on the correct path. We as human, we as the members of the civil community or the society, we have a responsibility to be one. Give equal rights to everybody. So then we will be on the correct path.
To peace, we will be able to.
I have no power over any other religion. I have no power over any other race. They are also equal. They can be minorities. In Sri Lankan community, the Ja people are a minority. I have no rights over them. I have the equal rights like them. That's where we stand.
All right. So, thank you, sir. I still have a hard time pronouncing your name, sir. Kalutuarachchi, right?
Kalutuarachchi. Kalutuarachchi.
Yes. Okay, sir. So that's all we have for today. We have less than 1 minute as well. So I would like to thank you for your personal beliefs, opinion, as well as your view on our project as well as the war. So thank you, sir.
I wish you all the very best. I hope that I contributed at least the minor, tiny little thing for your project. And
definitely, sir.
Hope you all do well at your submissions and exams. All the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,